Hi, Melissa from Melissa vs. Fibromyalgia here, and we are doing Pacing a Toolkit Part 2. Welcome back. Did you see the first talk? Did you find your rating scale? And did you do some brainstorming or tracking to find your baseline? We'll build on this and more today. So if you need to go back and get the first video, you can get it wherever you are now. So whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're watching in the Melissa vs. Fibromyalgia Inner Circle Facebook group, go back and watch the first video because we really talk about what it is and why we want to do it and how to establish our baseline. We also talked about a really great resource to find your rating scale, to find your baseline, and to also help you track your activities. But hi and welcome to today's training. This is the second video. The third bonus video is going live for newsletter subscribers only. So make sure you're on the Melissa vs. Fibromyalgia newsletter list. The link will be below. If you miss out, if you get on too late before it's already been sent out, then it will be available in the Melissa vs. Fibromyalgia membership site. That's my sliding scale membership site where you will get all three videos, the audios of the videos in case you prefer kind of a podcast style. You also get the downloadable PDF of all the talks and all the resources and a pacing worksheet, a perpetual cleaning plan, and a daily symptom log. And just as an idea of how affordable I've made it, those three templates sell in my Etsy store for more than you'll pay for 1 or 2 months of the membership. So it's a pretty exciting, it's a little bit new and I'm very excited about it. It's going to be the best resource ever. But for now, we are going to talk about what my pacing includes, all of the things that you can consider, because remember I told you that pacing applies to way more than just your whole of life framework. You can use it for all sorts of things. And what's the point? What has it done for me to be pacing? So, as I said, remember, pacing is a broad tool and we can use it every day. So it applies to our whole of life balance, how many hours we work or volunteer or caregive in total. It also applies to how we manage our activities during the day, how we approach exercise, and more. So as a way of visualizing what it can mean, I'm going to share my concept of what pacing looks like across my life. Because sometimes these ideas are a little bit abstract and they look great on a piece of paper or when someone tells it to you, but until you actually hear a concrete way of how someone uses it, it can be just a little bit out of reach. So my pacing includes how much I work. So currently I do around 10 to 15 hours a week on my business around my children. Before my children, I found that 27 and a half hours was good for me. It was the big thing that changed everything. So learning what my energy envelope was and the best times of day to do my work made a big difference. So I was pretty sick, pretty unwell when I first reduced my hours, but I reduced to 27 and a half hours and I finished work by 3 because what I noticed was by 3 I just faded. And it actually made a really big difference for me to change it up at 3 o'clock. So I would leave work and I'd go pick up my brothers from school. My 2 youngest brothers were still in school. And when I went to part-time hours, I moved back home with my family to make it viable, right? And so I'd pick up my brothers and I'd go home with them and we'd do afternoon tea and we'd do their homework and we'd go for a gentle walk together. So I can talk about that a bit more later, but I actually had to reduce the amount of exercise I was doing to reduce the amount of pain I was experiencing, which is very interesting given a lot of the normal advice. But anyway, we'd go for a little walk and then we'd prepare dinner together and I'd have a rest as well. So I would sit on the couch. This is before I found meditation, so I wasn't terribly efficient at it, but I rested. And that just finding that simple change in the rhythm made a difference. So the whole of life thing made a difference, but also just that time of day and recognizing when I work the best really made a difference. It helped my productivity. So it meant that, I'm pretty sure that in my 3/4 time job, I was doing as much as a full-timer. I did a lot. And I actually have had to work on chilling out about that. But pacing and work hours is a big deal. So another way I use it is how I distribute things like household chores. So my cleaning and my cooking and my childcare, I actually distribute it wisely. So for example, I have a little schedule that I do for my cleaning. So those bigger cleaning tasks like changing all of the linen on the beds and vacuuming and all that, I distribute it across the week so that I don't have a ginormous energy output on cleaning so that I can't do anything else that day. I also delegate the things that are too hard. So I save the vacuuming of, our house is a bit of a Frankenstein house, but we have bedrooms upstairs and we have a rumpus room downstairs. So I take care of vacuuming the main areas, but on the weekend I ask my husband to do the vacuuming for me, and he does the upstairs and downstairs because I find it quite tiring. So that's another way that we can use pacing as well. Exercise, 30 minutes maximum at a time, and that's keeping it manageable for me. So that's why I do yoga broken down into chunks in my program, because we need to adapt it. So for a long time my line was 20 minutes. If I did less than 20 minutes I'd have more pain and fatigue, but if I did more I'd have heaps more pain, especially in my legs and my glutes. And actually, as I noted before, I used to try and do more exercise than that, and I was keeping constant tension and pain in my glutes and my thighs. And by reducing how much I exercise, so I dropped it right down to like 10 or 15 minutes and then slowly built up. And I did 20 to 25 minutes for a long time. I actually reduced some of the pain I was experiencing, because not all of our pain is from the fibromyalgia. Some of it is from overdoing it. Some of it is from trigger points. I had active trigger points in my glutes. So it was a good lesson. Also, regular rest breaks, okay? So putting designated rest breaks throughout your day can really help you with your that is a tool of pacing that can help you with your day. So sitting with the heat pack for a few minutes regularly. When you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed or a little bit sore, sit with the heat pack. I also have one big break. So my meditation break is after lunch. I do a 30-minute guided meditation while the baby is sleeping. Some people are able to nap. If you're lucky enough to nap and it doesn't interrupt your nighttime routine, go for it. Some people prefer like restorative yoga there, so a few passive poses, because meditation might not be their thing, but having a designated rest break in the day is a big deal for me. When my day finishes and the time I stop trying to do anything significant. So once the kids are in bed, I'm generally done. I'm over the day, but I'm also almost always in bed by 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I don't really do anything significant after 7 o'clock. I do not do any projects. I hardly do anything. That's when my body is finished. How quickly I get going in the morning. So I know that I need 15 minutes to sit with my coffee and heat pack, because I need that heat pack to get some movement going in my neck. So I never schedule things super early in the morning, and I always make sure that's factored in. I say no when I need to. So unfortunately, this is mostly around going out in the evening and being careful with weekend activities and trips away, but I know when to say no. Keeping space for flares. So when symptoms flare, things have to go, right? So you have to plan flexibly so that you can create space for managing that. So that was a lot of things, but I just wanted to give you a sense of all the different ways that pacing has become part of my life, which is helping me manage. So what's it all in service of? Why am I doing it? Basically, I want the biggest symptom reduction possible. My biggest aim in life, besides being a good mama and helping as many people as I can through my work, is the least pain and fatigue possible. So what has pacing done for me? What has all this work that I've put in done for me? It helps me to sleep better because I'm less overtired, and when I'm less overtired, I sleep better. If I've had my rest breaks and I've relaxed in the evening and I've gone to bed at a decent time, I sleep much better than if I don't. Fun fact, I actually sleep worse on the days I haven't rested and go to bed late. That sleep reverse psychology thing does not work here. It reduces my pain. So by taking my rest breaks and adhering to my framework, I actually experience less pain, especially by limiting computer time. I have less brain fog and overwhelm. I have more enjoyment, and I have a better quality of life. So what I do, I love, and I am thankful for it, and I can give more to it because I have less pain and fatigue. So do I sometimes choose to go outside of this framework? Yeah. If I deem the benefits higher than the costs, I'll push it from time to time, especially if it's something that can make my kids and husband happy. But I always factor their long-term happiness in as well. So for example, something in the short term might be great for them. They might think it's great, but if I'm going to be unwell for like a week or two afterwards and unable to do the things I need to do, then it's not worth it, right? And so things like occasional evening parties with modifications, I can do. Previously, I used to feel kind of physically sick. If I stayed up past 9 o'clock, I would just get physically unwell. Now I just get really tired and sore, which can continue for a couple of days depending how it goes, but I can usually mitigate it with a bit of extra rest. So knowing those things are going to happen helps me make my cost versus benefit analysis for things. But these are things that are hard learned. Okay, I had to do trial and error to figure it out. I had to figure out what I can and I can't handle, and I've had to cope with years of knowingly overdoing it before I could get to this point. It's not that easy, and I know that. I know that we all have things that we have no choices about, and that's why when we do the third talk, which is going out to the Melissa versus Fibromyalgia newsletter list, and it's already available in my membership, we talk about what on earth you can do if you can't tackle those big things yet. So what about when we have a flare as well? So this is where the one moment at a time comes in. So know and enact your coping mechanism and take it one moment at a time. When it's rough, you do need to look after yourself and take it step by step. So that concept of pacing comes right down. And all of your tools that you've learned get enacted. So I hope this has given you a really good idea of what pacing is, how you can use it for yourself, the different areas that you can start to use it for. Please know I didn't just enact all of these things at one time. It's kind of been a slow learning process. The first thing I did to create space to start doing all the rest of it was reduce my work hours that little bit, and it did make a difference. Particularly because fatigue is a problem for me, but also because trigger points are a problem, and sitting on the computer causes my trigger points problems. So that made a big difference. So for you, shaving 10 hours off your work week may not make as much of a difference, but something else might. So just bear all that in mind as well. We are really unique. I hope that this has really helped you. I really hope that you've got some tips to get started. If you want to chat about this, come and chat into the Melissa versus Fibromyalgia Inner Circle Facebook group. We're going to be chatting about it. We're going to be putting tips and tricks in about it throughout this month. And if you want to come and join the Melissa versus Fibromyalgia sliding scale membership, we have all the resources there. We have even more resources to go through. I'm really working on getting practical, and this is the way that I can help people the best. So make sure you've signed up to the Melissa versus Fibromyalgia newsletter list so that you can get the third bonus talk. And otherwise, any questions, hit me up.